$100,000 in 3 months. Sounds like a dream, right? Can you still do the same thing in London, in Toronto, or Sydney? Still walk away with such insane amount of return just flipping a house? Let's break down what actually happens behind the scene to flip a house, especially how to optimize it if you're outside of the US, in the UK, Canada, or Australia, so that your hard work will not be wasted just to pay the tax. First thing first, the dream versus the leveraging illusion. Well, everyone knows the fantasy. Buy low, pay fast, sell high. Just like one of those glossy renovation shows like HGTV. But in reality, it's more like a tax TV paying taxes. And of course, it looks even better on YouTube. YouTubers are borrowing 80% from the bank. After 1 year, you get a return of 60% on your original investment. That's the beauty of leverage. Borrowing money either from a bank or other institutions. Basically, you have small capital and big return. But more interestingly, let's see what happens after the bank and the taxman take their cuts. Before I go into details, the structure of the video today is that we'll talk about the pain first, and then the math, the numbers behind, and the solution to optimize it. So if you want to save time and money on analyzing new business ideas, remember subscribe now. Number 1, the pain. Let's do a world tour of global tax trap, starting with the UK, United Kingdom. If you sell a flat or a house in the UK, you need to pay 28% on the capital gain tax plus a 12% of stamp duty when you buy the house and when you sell the house. So basically, you are talking about paying at least 50% if you sell within 1 year. Australia. For Australia, if you sell it within 1 year, the house will be taxed as income tax. So that means it's on top of your normal income. So imagine if you're a normal middle class and you have $100,000 on top of your income. Most likely, the tax rate would be the highest rate, 45%. In Canada, if you sell a property within 1 year, it will be classified as business income for tax, which is normally around 40 to 45% if this is business income on top of your normal income. In New Zealand, if you sell a property within 10 years, yes, 10 years, then you will be charged in terms of tax as normal income. So this part of the income most likely will be at the higher tier of the tax rate, which is up to 39%. Yes, you need to wait for 10 years. So how does this all compare with America? So in America, most people actually pays only 15 to 20% for this kind of flipping, even though in theory they should pay up to 37%. This is because of many loopholes like deductions, depreciations, and also the 1031 exchange, which can defer your tax if you move from one home to another home. And because it is very easy to borrow money in the US, you can borrow up to 80% or even 90% of the money. So even though the return might be modest, but if you turn into percentage, the return on cash is massive. Outside the US, it is a completely different story. It is much straighter in terms of borrowing, also the interest rate is higher, and the tax is up to 40 or even 45% if you flip it within 1 year. Well, yes, it looks very easy on YouTube because most of the YouTube videos are based on the country that is built for it, United States. Number 2, the numbers. Let's give you a concrete example. Let's say there's a $300,000 flat you bought. You spend $15,000 on the transaction fees, $30,000 on renovation, and then you sell it for $360,000. 20% increase within 1 year. Very respectable. But you look at it, the gross margin or the profit is only $15,000 because you need to minus off the cost, transaction cost, and renovation cost. With this gross profit of $15,000, in the US, you can use certain deductions and a 1031 exchange, assuming that you buy another flat right after. You can defer the tax, so you can get $12,000 after tax. But in most other countries like the UK, Australia, Canada, or New Zealand, you can pay up to 45% to the tax authorities. So you at the end keep maybe $8,000 to $10,000 rather than $12,000. So after 6 months of dust and sweat and stress and disappearing contractors on Fridays, you finally get the 4% or 3% after tax of profit. Okay, some of you may say, why don't you borrow money? Yes, but given the interest rate now, in most of the countries, even you borrow 80% of the money, at the end of the day you need to pay interest, and this will eat in your profit, and the total return is roughly 3 to 4% after tax as well. Congratulations, this is officially lower than the return from my ETF dividends, minus your weekends and your sanity. Number 3, solutions. Well, I don't mean that flipping is totally dead. Of course, there are better ways to optimize the results. Number 1, live-in flips. So most countries, they reduce the tax or even no tax if you can prove that you actually live in the flat or the residence before you sell it. So if you can keep utility bills so that you can show that you live there for a short period of time, then you can sell it at a lower tax rate. Number 2, reno and rent. So after you renovate it, lease it out for some time before you actually sell it. Usually this can reduce the tax you need to pay, and the rent would cover your interest and the repayment. Number 3, why don't you just invest in REITs or property ETFs? So REITs are real estate investment trusts, and property ETFs are basically funds. It's easier because you just need to invest on your smartphone. You don't need to have any paintings, no renovations, returns are pretty good, and they have a broader property portfolio than just one house. Number 4, partner up. Basically, one guy deals with the financing and the banks and do the calculation. The other guy who's good at DIY, do the hammer, do the renovation. Split the headache, split the profits. To optimize it, basically to flip your mindset, not just the kitchen. So what's my verdict? Short term is basically dead. Flipping in the medium term is risky. But long term, if you renovate it and then rent it out before you sell it, or you live in it before you sell it, then it makes financial sense. So unless you are in the US or you have very similar rules in your country, which is very easy to borrow money and there are many loopholes to reduce the tax burden, flipping houses is basically working on the weekends for the government. If you want to save time and money before you dive too deep into some of the hottest business ideas, subscribe now. We are going to do more analysis of other ideas. See you next time.